welcome back to my channel. My name is Julia Ambani, commonly known as Jules. On this channel, we love to talk about books, literature, development, and a sprinkle of other things here and there. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, feel free to subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, share it with people who you think will be interested, and yeah, let's get to the video. So today, I'm sure you've seen the thumbnail, I'm sure you've seen the title of the video, but today we are talking about Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is one author who I was extremely hesitant to read her books, simply because they were so hyped on Book Talk, and I have been disappointed by hyped books one too many times. So I bought my first Taylor Jenkins Reid book earlier on in 2022, I think around March, and it was this book, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn, Hugo. But I didn't read it until December 2022. Around September or October 2022, I bought Carrie, Soto is Back, as well as Malibu Rising. I didn't read Carrie, Soto is Back until December as well, and I have not yet read Malibu Rising. However, this video is more so to talk about the two books that I have read and what I thought about them, considering how hyped they were. The first book I read is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn, Hugo. I read this in December, so just a month ago, and I honestly loved it. Like, I genuinely understand what the hype is all about. I genuinely understand why people love this book so much. It was one of those books that has a problematic main character who is unapologetic, which I liked. So basically, this book is classified as a historical fiction, which was a bit strange to me, but I see why it falls in that category. I think I just have a preconceived notion of what historical fiction is, but yeah, this is classified as a historical fiction book. It follows the life of Evelyn Hugo, who is more or less a Hollywood star. So Evelyn Hugo is one of those stars that people love to hate and hate to love, and yeah, she's just one of those icons. She was given a bit of Marilyn Monroe vibes, to be sincere, and she, as the book starts, she is in her late 70s. I hope I'm remembering that correct. So she reaches out to a magazine that's one of these like Vogue type magazines, and says that she's going to give them an exclusive, but only if she talks to one person in particular, a new reporter in that magazine called Monique. So they do organize for Monique to go to her house, but once she gets there, Evelyn Hugo tells her that in fact it's not an exclusive that she'll be getting, but she wants Monique to write her entire autobiography and keep the proceedings, all the proceedings that she'll make from this book, which is like millions. Monique is not too sure why Evelyn has chosen her to do this, but she weighs the pros and cons and sees that it's an opportunity that she can't allow to go to waste, and decides, okay, she's going to do it. So they meet at Evelyn's house for a number of days as Evelyn now relates her story from when she was a child. So the way this book is kind of written, it's such that each husband kind of represents a face of Evelyn's house. Each husband kind of represents a face of Evelyn's life, and essentially we see how Evelyn came from basically nothing, from a father, from living with a father who she did not necessarily trust. Her mom had passed on, unfortunately, and she always had this desire to be a Hollywood actress, and basically she details how she went about this journey, and through this we see the different husbands. I feel like I can't really go into details about each husband, because that might kind of spoil the book, but it's true. Eventually she does have 7 husbands. When I got this book, I'm not too sure what I was expecting, but it definitely did not go in the direction I was expecting, sincerely. One would immediately assume from the title that it's like she just was marrying and divorcing people willy-nilly, but the more I read the story, the more I understood, like the more I got it. Like, she did what she had to do to survive in this life, and I get that truthlessness. One thing about this book is that Evelyn, in her old age, as she's sharing her story, she has no regrets. Okay, she does have a few regrets, but mostly she has no regrets about her actions, and she clearly states that if she were to go back, she would do it again. She basically did whatever it took to keep people who she loves safe, as well as succeed. We are shown how, like, behind the scenes in the Hollywood life, how things are orchestrated, like, you know, how you have to be told to, like, link up with men of maybe a good name or something to get your ratings high, to get you out there. For example, Evelyn herself is Spanish or Latina. I don't want to get that wrong, so please don't take offense, anyone. And she's told in this book she has to kind of dye her hair blonde and pretend to be an American. So, like, she even stops talking her language, and, you know, such sacrifices that she had to make just because she really wanted to succeed. These husbands come and go. Some of them were married for convenience, to maybe take her from a terrible situation. Some of them were married to protect someone else. Some of them were married out of love, not necessarily romantic love, but it's just a myriad of experiences, and I really loved that. I won't say Evelyn as a character is lovable. I don't think that's the word that will apply to her. She is ruthless. She is selfish. She'll put herself first. She'll put people she loves first. She'll do what she has to do to succeed. She does not care if she undercuts anyone else. But the main thing is she's written in such a way that she does not apologize for this. And I think I was okay with her. I know I've seen a number of reviews of people saying she was problematic, but I think I'm okay with her, because if we're really being honest, a lot of us are selfish by nature. We do things that put us first and things that it will take for us to succeed. We do consider people we love important and will do a lot for them. It's just that maybe she was in the limelight or she went to extremes, but I did love that she was unapologetic about it. The one main lesson I got from this book was love does not choose, number one, and number two, you really need to love who you love in the moment, because Evelyn and her main love interest, there were a lot of things that made them not be together at that time, given the time period that this book is set in, and the experiences at that time. So I feel like by the time they actually got together to actually settle down, they didn't have enough time because she had a lifestyle disease and passed on. So one of the important lessons I took from this book was just love who your heart desires and try and do it as soon as you can, so that it's not too late. But yeah, there's a lot of representation in this book, especially for women and sexuality. Those two things really come out, and they're done well, in my opinion. They're very integral parts of the book, including Evelyn herself and her sexuality. So yeah, basically this was a good book to me. I really loved Evelyn. She was a boss. She did what she had to do. Was everything she did good? No, but it is what it was. So yeah, I will definitely recommend this book. I have seen a few people give thoughts on the representation in this book, especially for Black people, but yeah, I kind of get where they're coming from. But all in all, I think it's a well-rounded, well-written book. The second Taylor Jenkins Reid book I read is Carrie Soto is back. So I had carried Carrie Soto is back and The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo home over my Christmas break. And I finished these books, both of them combined in 3 days. That's how fast I read them, because that's how intriguing they were. So Carrie Soto is also an icon, but in a very, very different way from Evelyn Hugo. This book is also about a woman who is a celebrity, and it is also set somewhat in the past. I think it also qualifies as a historical fiction, if I'm not wrong. It focuses on Carrie. Carrie is a pro tennis player, and we are shown her life. It kind of starts from the present, then goes to the past, then back to the present. The present being 1990 something actually. So yeah, I do think this is historical fiction. So Carrie basically is a pro tennis player. She got into the sport through her father. Her mother passed on when she was young, and her father was in the sport. I think he was a bit pro, but not too much. I can't remember very well. But after a while, he stopped playing, and especially I think after the death of Carrie's mom. And so they moved to America, and from there, he started kind of just training Carrie and telling her all the time that, you know, you're going to be one of the greatest tennis players in the world, all the time. And Carrie, she came to believe this in her heart. So every day they will play. He will train. And eventually she started becoming very good. She started being noticed, especially considering how young she was. She started getting in the competitions. She started getting in the opens. So I don't know too much about tennis. Fun fact, I played tennis in high school, but I just played tennis in high school so that I could go for, you know, those sports events, and I was in an all-girls boarding school, so I really wanted some time out. But yeah, I don't know in detail about it, but this book has kind of made me understand a few things. She made tennis her entire personality. Like, that's all she was. And we are shown how she got from being a child to being a young adult to being a full adult in the sport, the challenges she had, the competition she faced, and how she ended up being the tennis player with the most world titles, I think. Yeah, they're called slam titles. So by the time she retires in her early 30s, because of course by then your body is not the same as it will be in your 20s. So she actually hurts herself and decides to retire. She holds the record of the best player in the world with the highest number of slam titles, and she is content with that for a while, until around 6 years later when a new player comes in. This new player is called Nikki. She is extremely good, and so where the book opens is when Nikki is playing a game, and if she wins this game, then her and Evelyn Hugo will be tied. Oh my god, not me talking about Evelyn Hugo. Her and Carrie Soto will be tied in the number of slam titles that they have. So she does win that game, and Carrie feels like she wants to come out of retirement to protect her title, because tennis is who she is, it's all she has, and she had made her name as the best player in the world, and here comes someone younger taking that title away from her. So she talks to her father once again and asks the father if he can coach her, and yeah, they start on this journey to kind of reclaim her title. The journey is not easy, considering she is aged and she is going against someone young. We see how her news of coming out of retirement is taken. People really ridicule her and all that. Because her life is so focused on tennis, she was never socially aware enough to like even make friends or anything. She was always brutal in her responses. So people nicknamed her the battle axe because of how she is. And I felt like throughout this book, we just saw a journey of her evolving and accepting that what it means to be the best, accepting what it means to relate with other people, what it means to love, what it means to let other people into her life. And she just kind of fought her own internal battles, and eventually, you know, the story kind of went how I thought it would be. It was not an unpredictable book. I don't even know if there's much more I can say about this book. What I can tell you about Taylor Jenkins Reid as a writer is that she writes very, very well. Having read the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo first, I found it really nice to see some references within this book of Carrie Soto is Back. Like some minor characters were mentioned in the book, you know, like, oh, that ABC. And I was like, oh, I get that. It's a reference. I really enjoy when I read books and see similarities or references like that. So out of these two books, if you ask me to tell you which one was my favorite, I would say this one was a bit more iconic, but in my honest opinion, I also think this is a very, very good, well-written book. I know I've seen a few people complain that this book was a bit, what's the word, linear, if I can say that, and that Carrie Soto did not have any other personality aside from being a tennis player. And I do agree, that's true, but I feel that if you give this book a chance and just read it, you'll dive into the story and be so captivated in it. And I think that's one thing I have to give Taylor her flowers for being able to do that with both of these books. The best way I can describe reading these books is that I was so immersed into it that, for example, for Carrie Soto is Back, I will get the same tension or anxiety that I normally get when I'm watching my favorite football teams playing, or the kind of anxiety I got when I was watching the World Cup final game between Argentina and France. That's kind of how I felt, because you're not too sure, will she win? And I like that they didn't show like they didn't show her comeback as something so seamless, like she got into the sport and just started winning miraculously. No, we also see her fail, which is so important. But basically, I know I've rambled a lot, but I do hope I've given you a feel of what these two books are like. I feel that Taylor is a talented writer. I now believe that she deserves the hype that she gets. I do have this book, Malibu Rising. I've not read this yet, but just by reading the synopsis, I can see that it's about Nina River, who is in this book, and the name River is also mentioned in Carrie Soto is Back. So I'm very curious to understand if Jenkins writes within one universe or time period, if you get what I mean. Will I recommend her books? I will definitely recommend these two that I have read. This one I'll have to come back and give my feedback later. But yeah, that was my experience reading Taylor Jenkins Reid books. I'm so glad I decided to give her a chance. Honestly, her books are really good. People have really recommended to me to read Daisy Jones and the Six. So I'm hoping to get that copy quite soon. And I'll be back to let you know what I think about it. But for now, I am a fan. I've become a fan. And if you're in Kenya, these books are available at Nuria Bookstore. And if you use my code, you get a 7% discount from each book that you buy at the store on their website. So let me know if you've read any Taylor books, which ones you loved, which ones you did not love, what you thought about them. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.